on the inside. So when our tubing comes around, we come into here, and just mark it, hold your mark, cut your tube. I cut the first two the same exact size. Then I go into my colored tape, not provided by them.
Come on, man.
Oh, you provided? Nice.
Yeah. Quick. Splitter 1, blue tape. Splitter 2, orange tape. Splitter 3, brown tape. Splitter 4, splitter 4, brown
green.
tape, 3 is green. Just like our color code.
You're yeah, like
Ours.
Just like our American color
It's not
code.
red.
Not the Ecuadorian color code.
Blue, orange, green, brown.
Amen.
Yeah, blue, orange, green, brown.
Now we're
No,
gonna
they
be
start with red.
Now,
So red,
568B.
Green.
What's the pin out on 568B?
B
B. Bravo.
for
So RJ
the male head.
For, yeah, RJ45.
Yeah, it's
Come on. try
orange, white, orange.
Come on.
Isn't it blue? What is it? It's
What are we?
white, orange,
I don't-
orange.
I don't-
Yeah, he's right. That's what I said. Orange, white, orange.
I don't remember.
Because the first
I don't
one is
remember
striped.
some pins.
All right, so now we have the length for the first two tubes. These are the ones that are going to be in the tray. They're going to be on the bottom. Okay? I take, because we have 4 splitters, I'll take my next tube and line it up, but I'm going to mark a tape width in, because I like to see them staggered, and then of course you make the top 2 the same size.
Let me see where you match that up next to one.
Sure.
So first and second,
So line up
Now-
match the
first-
same size.
Yep.
The third and fourth, just
Same size, but
Says
one
middle
tape
line.
width smaller.
Tape smaller.
Because when I lay them in, I want to see them staggered. So as I'm feeding my fibers in, I can see the tape colors. I'll put the blue and orange on the bottom. I'll be able to see
I see
the
what
blue
you're
and
saying.
orange as the
Got it.
fibers are entering. And then on top is brown and green, but they're set back, so I can see them without
Is
putting them
that
into the
something that
rotator.
they're asking?
No.
Okay, this is just so you can follow what's
I
going on.
was shown by the Cablevision technician in his splice lab that he did it that way with the tape.
Okay.
So I just took that that's what everyone wanted.
Maybe we already have orange.
What's today's date? 16th?
Anything,
so.
if there's anything I don't have to do, I won't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, if you want to do it to become just to get used to it, so that you're not second guessing yourself
Yeah.
at first,
Mm-hmm.
and when if it becomes second nature to you enough that you can do it.
Do we need the white tape also?
I like to have the white tape, but you can draw on any one of these. The only thing you can't draw on a black marker with is black tape,
Obvious. White tape and put the color on.
unless you have a
So
silver
it's like
marker.
trying to put a tattoo on a black person. It's like,
They
doesn't work
get
very
it.
well.
It shows up. Looks green on them though. Take your pants off, Sean.
Wow. Pause.
How would you know? How would you know it's
Call
back
me.
here?
I saw that. You should have seen. If you saw what I saw pulling up to the tent,
It's all a
man,
myth. It's all a myth.
it's all a myth. Yeah. All right.
Now, that's 1 inch tape.
And that hose comes in each one of those.
This hose will be given to you separately. It's a Corning kit that has a couple pieces of shrink tubing in it, some plastic cone pieces, and a tube of silicone.
Shrink tube.
So it must
Is
be,
that-
they must be using it for something else. The black shrink tubing that would go over the cone pieces, which I think has something to do with
Weatherproof or something?
either weatherproofing or
Has to do with one and
maybe
put it on the
it
inside.
has nothing to do with this enclosure at all.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
a part
I'm
number.
still trying to figure out what they wanted with those fibers that were exiting. Do you remember
That
they
you
was
said that
asking
it
about
covered-
it too?
He said
cover 'em?
when I left you guys and went and picked up all the materials, he said leave them naked. Don't put any tubing on it. Don't
Okay.
because the QC guy QC'd one my 40th site or whatever number it was, and then for the first time said, "How come you don't have spiral tubing around your fibers when they leave when they after they enter the butt end and go into the tray? I said, because no one ever told me to do it. If you had told me that you wanted it done and you were going to provide me with the spiral tubing, we would put it in. I said, but today's the first time you've mentioned this, and I've done 40 of them already.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what the change is all of a sudden. He's like, well, we've been getting the changes too. He's like, so remember I told you that ATS goes out and QCs us, and then Altice USA comes out and QCs us again. So if the Altice USA guy either doesn't like the Altice ATS guy or sees something differently than he does, you could fail twice for the same thing. You could fail for the first QC guy on something the second QC guy would pass, and vice versa. So I don't know why they just wouldn't send the last guy that's QCing out, or the guy that has the final word out to look at it and say it's good.
Who has the final word? Because there's got to be a boss between them.
Altice as an umbrella.
The USA.
Okay.
The USA.
Altice
guy.
Which one? Which
But
one?
they're
USA
saying
or-
Altice USA, but right now we're at their mercy where we're going to get QC'd twice.
But
But I haven't.
if you can go back and say USA said it's fine.
That's what we're going to say.
Okay. All right.
But USA comes last. ATS comes first.
Okay.
So you want to get paid for the ATS.
ATS
'cause-
comes
So
first.
ATS is the one that pays you.
Right. So that's the one you want to
ATS
pass.
is the one that gets you paid.
So they're the
But if
ones
they
that-
come, if USA comes behind them in QC, and I haven't run into this yet, so I don't know if they've seen any and everything's been fine, or they just haven't done it. I don't know what they're waiting for if they are.
Because I just want to know
understand.
who the boss is, who's the final boss, whoever's got
Derry.
final say. I'm gonna go with
You
them.
call Derry up and say, find out what's going on. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying you can't talk to anyone from cable. You talk to whoever you want. But I don't know if eventually they're going to say, how come every splicer's calling me?
Right.
So it's
Maybe
better to
they-
have either
when
me
do we
or
call you? We
Maybe
have
that's
to
what
call
needs
you
to happen.
for narration. I mean, what is
you
your...
call me, and you can call me anytime you want. I don't care, except for at night.
You are like project manager, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
But I was asked to show you guys how to do this and to kind of watch over you to help you through it,
Okay.
because I've been doing it enough that I've learned from
I got
all
you.
the fixing that I've been doing is because I failed, not because they came to me and said, "This is what we want." I went again, took my own pictures, built my own unit. The first one I built according to this matrix. Common sense says that if this holds 8, and these are 8, they must want all 8 of these here.
And that's
So the
not
first
case.
5 I built that way. On the 5th one, the technician came out in the afternoon when I was just finishing up and said, "Hey, they sent me out here to take a look at what you're doing." So I explained everything to him that I was doing. It wasn't the neatest thing at the time. And I was doing it according to the matrix. And he says to me, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "Because that's what the paperwork has. That's the way it is on here." So I just figured common sense, 8 of these, they go together. He said, "No, we're splicing them according to buffer tube. We're keeping all the buffer tubes together, buffer tube colors together, and splicing the buffer tube colors in order to the matrix." I said, "Okay, then I'll change." Coming from the tech, then I started to develop a relationship with his boss, Ron. So now when I start asking Ron questions, some of the stuff was good, some of the stuff wasn't. So I make changes according to Ron's verbal do this. My training with Ron for a PDO, I waited in his office, outside his office for 2 hours, and he spent 10 minutes with me. Said, do this, do this, do this, put orange tape, put blue tape, take all the rest of it, throw it in the bottom, close it up, and hang it. That's what you want? That's what I want. Okay. So we go out and we start hanging them. I just happened to go back to one of them that we hung that same day. I said, let me check on my guys what they're doing, make sure they're doing it right. Because I just concentrating on work. I'm like, you know what, I better check. I open the fucking clips, door opens to the side, everything falls out of it. All the spare zip ties, the foam tape, the hose clamps, all of it on the ground. And I went, I can only imagine what these guys are going to say when they come out and start looking at all of these. Guys, let's start putting all this stuff in a bag.
So you live in it empty.
Now I'm leaving it empty. I started putting it in a bag before they said anything to me. Then I get the phone call a week later. "Brett, why are you leaving all of that stuff in there? When they open the door up, it's all falling out." I said, "It's not anymore. Because I did it to myself. Yes, it all fell out. I said, now we're cutting the bag open neatly and putting all the stuff in the bag and putting the bag in the center of the tray under the slack cage. Oh, that's okay. Fine. Now we start doing that. They still continue to test. Brett, everything's still falling out. Ron, I told you, I'm putting it in the bag. I go to pick up materials that afternoon. I'm like, why are you busting my balls about the shit falling out? I already told you I fixed it. But I'm not going back to every other one. Tell your guys, from today on is when everything's going to be neat. He goes, you know what? He goes, my guys are bringing it all back. I'm like, well, why didn't you just tell me to bring it back then? I said, I'm not coming back here. What are you going to use it for? Well, if we got to go back into it later on. I said, I'll tell you what. I'll leave the foam pieces in. I'll leave the spare hose clamps that we're not using, and I'll put them around the posts that the 2 screws go on that the tray slides into and hooks on. Okay, that's good. See him another time after picking up materials. He's like, just bring all this stuff back here. I said, I'll tell you what, are you using it? He goes, I don't think we're going to use it. I said, I'm not coming back here. I'm throwing it out. I am not leaving anything inside of this thing. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to leave something for the next guy.
Right.
Someone else needs to add, for whatever reason, this lot was empty when I put the thing up, but now they put an MDU on it and it holds 8 more people. You can run a 12 strand out of that thing, into that thing from the JSO if there was reserve fibers and do it that way. That's me.
So on the
We're never going back in there. Okay.
so on the PDO, JSO, just take everything out.
PDO's everything garbage. JSO, remember how I told you to take that hose clamp and put it on the other L bracket and leave that in there? Because I know they are coming back in here with the feed fiber from the CO, and the guy's going to go in here and go,
Right.
how am I going to hold this in here? So when I show you the stuff that I want that holds the fiber when it comes in, sometimes you use 1, sometimes you use 2. It only comes with 2. If you use 1 for 2 fibers in the same grommet, you're going to have a spare. So I've been putting it in there, putting it on there hand tight, tightening up the hose clamp around the other clamp, so at least it's there. No one told me to do it. No one told me not to do it. As far as I'm concerned, I would think that if you did more, they would like that.
Yeah.
But who knows?
But it hasn't been working out like that.
No.
Little zip ties, they'll provide.
Okay.
Oh, they provide that?
You get some.
And that I have.
Those, but you don't get no tape.
That's one of the things I have.
I got a whole bunch left over from Florida.
I got on his case because I said, are we still putting the blue tape on a PDO? Blue tape resembles input, orange tape resembles output. I said, are we still putting the tape on the PDOs now that we're discussing everything? It hasn't changed, right? No, it hasn't. That's what we want you to do. I said, you need to get me blue and orange tape. So I'm hoping I can get blue and orange tape out of him, at least. All right. Put the zip tie in around the holder. Nice. Take the. You do whatever you want. I put blue on the outside, orange on the inside. You can do whatever. They already bend this way. Keep them in their natural state. I'm going to put these in here, but I'm only going to put them in halfway up. Remember the reason for me cutting it back a full length of tape? In my eyes, this is about a half a length of tape. Slide that there so it's either even with that or past. Tighten up your zip tie.
I noticed that the cap doesn't
Just snug.
close real well. with
It
the-
doesn't, so that's what I was getting at.
I thought I was doing
If
fine
you
well.
put your zip tie in the opposite way, when you close it down, the head's going to be on this side. When you put your plastic cover on,
It's not gonna
like
fit.
Edgar just brought up, it keeps it propped up.
You want it on the outside.
You want it on the outside only because sometimes you can manipulate the tray and get it to tuck down in there and be out of the way. Sometimes you can't. They haven't complained about that yet. I think that if we can keep them as neat as possible,
Why don't you come back through the back?
it should look, maybe they'll let something other little bullshit thing go. All right, it looks nice and neat, but you know what, we'll leave
What
that.
about if putting this on the backside? and just zip it into the back.
You can, but if you do that on this one, when you put it on top, it's gonna stick up even more.